Hello guys, welcome back to Truth in Time. Today we set sail into one of the CS oldest riddles, the story of the Mary Celeste, a sturdy merchant brigantine discovered adrift in the Atlantic in 1872. A ship intact, supplies aboard, but completely abandoned. 10 people vanished from a sea-ready vessel and left behind a mystery that has fascinated sailors, writers, and historians for generations. Our story begins in New York Harbor on November 7th, 1872. The Mary Celeste was not a grand ocean liner, but a reliable cargo vessel built to cross oceans. Commanding her was Captain Benjamin Briggs, a man known for his seamanship, discipline, and steady reputation. Briggs was no lone voyager that year. His wife Sarah and their little daughter Sophia accompanied him, a reminder that merchant voyages then sometimes included family life at sea. Along with them sailed 7 experienced seamen, hardy men accustomed to long passages. The manifest included over 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol bound for Genoa, Italy, a valuable and possibly hazardous cargo by maritime standards. The voyage began as any ordinary transatlantic journey might. The ship cleared New York's crowded harbor, set her sails, and slipped into the cold November swell. Weather reports for the North Atlantic that season spoke of variable conditions. Fair days between squalls, a typical winter pattern. Captain Briggs and his crew were seasoned. They knew how to handle their craft. For weeks, nothing in the official log or import reports hinted at trouble. Yet maritime life is woven with uncertainty, and the ocean holds more questions than answers. On the morning of December 5th, 1872, the British brig Dei Gratia, commanded by Captain David Morehouse, spotted a vessel in the distance near the Azores, much earlier than expected along common shipping lanes. As the Dei Gratia closed the gap, the other ship's behavior struck the crew as odd. Its sails were set in a strange, partial way. It rode low in the water, drifting with the current. When a boarding party was lowered and made their way aboard, they found the Mary Celeste empty. Imagine stepping aboard a vessel that appears serviceable but has no one to answer the call. The lifeboat was missing. Personal effects lay where they were left. Food and navigational instruments remained. The ship's papers were present, though the logbook contained an entry up to 10 days earlier and no indication of what had transpired afterward. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of violent conflict, and no obvious damage that would have forced an immediate abandonment. Yet the people were gone. Captain Morehouse and his officers faced a gruesome puzzle in practical terms: how to salvage a found vessel, ensure legal procedure, and also attempt to uncover the fate of its missing crew. They brought the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar for inquiry. A salvage hearing followed under Admiralty law. It was the standard process for a derelict vessel found at sea. Salvage courts had to weigh whether abandonment resulted from peril that justified a claim. But alongside legal forms and maritime procedure, the human drama of an entire family and crew vanished without trace haunted every testimony. Newspapers across the English-speaking world seized on the story. The editors loved mysteries, and the empty ship at sea provided a sensational narrative. Reporters inventively mixed fact with speculation. The public's imagination quickly filled gaps the records left. Why would a meticulous captain like Briggs leave a seaworthy ship, his family aboard, with provisions and a safe hold? Every detail became a hook for both sober reporting and fanciful fiction. From the outset, possible explanations multiplied. Piracy made sense in one way. Ships were boarded and robbed. Crews sometimes disappeared. But if pirates had attacked, why leave cargo and valuables practically untouched? Mutiny was another theory. Still, mutiny typically leaves signs: violence, missing officers, or at least some record in the ship's log. The evidence did not point cleanly in that direction. A widely discussed theory concerned the cargo: denatured alcohol. Alcohol stored in barrels can evaporate or leak. Fumes are flammable and can produce powerful, disorienting vapors in enclosed spaces. One plausible scenario proposed that the crew suspected the hold had become dangerous and abandoned ship temporarily in the lifeboat while they waited for the vapors to clear. If weather or waves separated them from the vessel, they might have been lost without the ship itself ever being damaged. The theory fits several facts: intact cargo, lack of obvious violence, but it cannot fully account for why experienced mariners and a captain would not return once the perceived danger subsided. Another set of explanations focused on environmental or meteorological events. Sudden storms, water spouts, or rogue waves can create panic and confusion. The Atlantic has moods that can frighten even the most seasoned sailors. A sudden squall could have caused the crew to take to the boats, but again, the Mary Celeste showed little sign of storm damage to explain such a hurried departure. Seaquakes or underwater eruptions might have caused fear without wrecking the hull, yet evidence remained thin. Then there are ideas more imaginative than empirical. The Sargasso Sea theory, for example, suggests that crews sometimes abandon ships thinking they were irretrievably stuck in a weed-locked zone or drifting into peril. Or the suggestion that navigational error made the crew believe they were about to run aground, prompting an emergency evacuation. These hypotheses are not impossible, but none are as convincing as one might hope when trying to account for a whole family and crew disappearing from a seaworthy vessel. Beyond technical and natural explanations, human factors matter. Captain Briggs was known for skill and steadiness, yet leaders can make misjudgments under stress. Panic can spread quickly, especially if a captain believes a ship poses imminent danger to life. If a sudden smell of alcohol, a misreadness of a barometer, a misinterpreted sound drawn from the hold, any of these could create a cascading response in a confined maritime environment. Once a crew is in the water without quick rescue, the Atlantic's vastness offers no comfort. Local folklore and sensational journalism very quickly took hold. Writers embellished accounts, and prominent authors later fictionalized the event. These renditions fed public appetite and shifted focus away from sober inquiry toward narrative drama. The Mary Celeste entered cultural memory as the quintessential ghost ship, a haunting symbol of the ocean's mysteries. Yet those cultural portrayals can obscure the people at the heart of the story. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, little Sophia, and the 7 crew members were real humans with families, concerns, and futures that vanished in mid-December 1872. Their absence left grief and legal complexities behind. Insurers, owners, and families faced practical and emotional tasks without closure. The salvage hearing in Gibraltar examined evidence meticulously. Officials found the Mary Celeste seaworthy and fit to sail. They recorded the missing lifeboat and noted oddities in some loose gear, but they also concluded there was no proof of piratical seizure or violent wrongdoing. The court awarded salvage to the Dei Gratia, less than would normally be expected because the circumstances remained strange. Some witnesses, perhaps in remorse or to gain notoriety, offered contradictory accounts. The public preferred the mystery over an ambiguous verdict. Over the ensuing decades, the Mary Celeste story grew. New theories appeared, old ones revived. Maritime researchers tested the fumes hypothesis in experimental settings, modeling how alcohol vapors might behave in a wooden ship. Others re-examined meteorological records and shipping routes to test the plausibility of a panic-induced lifeboat abandonment. None of these studies produced a universally accepted conclusion. Instead, a collage of possible explanations remains, each plausible, each limited, each contributing a piece but never solving the whole. The ship itself returned to service under new owners, carrying sailors and cargo across oceans as she had before. Superstition dogged her. Some crews refused service aboard her, and tales of bad luck grew. Finally, in 1885, the Mary Celeste met an unremarkable end. Wrecked near Haiti under a different captain, a demise far less mysterious than her most famous chapter. Still, the legend endured, and the ship's empty drift in 1872 kept drawing interest from curious minds. So what can this unresolved story teach us about maritime life and human decision-making? It reminds us that even meticulous records and seasoned experience do not guarantee certainty. The ocean can throw situations that combine technical, environmental, and human factors in ways that defy a single neat explanation. It also reminds us of the human cost of unknowns. Real families left without closure, and an enduring image of vulnerability that resonates in our imaginations. In part 2, we'll dig deeper into the people involved, explore the legal and insurance fallout, examine more modern scientific tests and archival discoveries, and look at how literature and popular culture transformed the Mary Celeste into a permanent maritime icon. Join us for the second half of this voyage.